Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. This is where we sift through, all the dense articles, the cutting-edge research, and our own deep dive notes. We pull out those gleaming nuggets of knowledge you absolutely need to feel truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a world that might, at first glance, conjure up images of shadowy figures, maybe dimly lit server rooms, clandestine operations. When I say CIA, what's the very first thing that pops into your head?
Espionage, right?
Maybe some dramatic movie scenes or, complex government agencies.
Yeah, that's the usual thought, definitely. And thankfully, for the sake of your router's well-being and everyone's peace of mind, we are absolutely not talking about that CIA today. No secret agents, no waterboarding of your network infrastructure, I promise.
Exactly. Because the real CIA that underpins our modern digital lives is something far more fundamental. It's utterly pervasive, and frankly, it affects everyone, from the largest multinational corporations right down to the precious personal photos stored on your smartphone. We're talking about the CIA Triad, which is essentially the sacred, the foundational, dare I say, the holy trinity of information security. It's a framework that, once you kind of wrap your head around it, illuminates the very backbone of digital safety.
And what's particularly striking here is how this seemingly technical concept forms the absolute bedrock. It's the foundation for keeping your data safe, sound, and accessible in our, well, increasingly interconnected digital world. It's an acronym that, far from being obscure, actually offers a powerful lens. You can view almost every aspect of cybersecurity through it. Understanding it moves you from just using technology to truly comprehending its vulnerabilities and its strength.
I couldn't agree more. So our mission today is to take a comprehensive deep dive into these three foundational principles: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These elements aren't just buzzwords. They are the very pillars upon which robust digital safety is built. And trust me, whether you're meticulously prepping for a crucial business meeting or diligently catching up on the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, or just simply insanely curious about how your digital life remains, well, yours. This deep dive is specifically crafted for you. Our goal is to arm you with a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, ensuring you don't feel completely swamped by the sheer volume of information out there.
Indeed, the importance of this, it really cannot be overstated. In a world utterly saturated with digital interactions, from online banking to social media, a solid grasp of these principles. It's no longer just for IT professionals. It's really an essential literacy for every single digital citizen.
Okay, let's unpack this with purpose. What can you truly expect from us over the next little while? We're going on an engaging and, dare I say, rather entertaining journey through the CIA Triad. We promise to infuse our discussion with humor, a dash of sarcasm, plenty of wit, and perhaps even some subtle satire, just to make even the densest, most technical topics not just digestible, but genuinely enjoyable. We'll be peering into the world of those shadowy hackers, the often clueless executives who accidentally open the digital floodgates, and yes, those poor, overworked servers that sound like they're running on their very last CPU cycle. Our ultimate goal is for you to gain knowledge quickly yet thoroughly, to experience those satisfying aha moments that genuinely deepen your understanding, and to comprehend not just what these concepts are, but precisely why they are so fundamentally crucial to your personal digital security and the integrity of your information. We'll expertly balance crisp summaries with memorable details and vivid real-world examples that we hope will stick with you long after our conversation wraps up. So without further ado, let's get started on this deep dive. All right, first up in our holy trinity of information security is confidentiality. So when we talk about confidentiality in the, often complex world of information security, what exactly are we truly safeguarding and from whom?
Right.
At its very essence, confidentiality is the fundamental principle of ensuring that only authorized individuals or systems get permission to view or access sensitive information. It is, quite simply, about protecting your secrets, making sure that what's meant to be private, stays private, shielded from prying eyes.
Right, I get it. It's the digital equivalent of whispering juicy gossip in a soundproof room where only the intended ears can truly hear it. Or, as one of our sources so wonderfully puts it, it's like keeping your grandma's legendary cookie recipe locked away in a vault, far from the unauthorized hands of, say, your nosy cousin trying to replicate it for profit. And this isn't just about those headline-grabbing massive corporate data breaches, though those are certainly spectacular examples. This principle applies to your company's financial records, your personal health records, or even, that utterly embarrassing email you might have sent to your boss at 2 a.m. after maybe one too many energy drinks. It's all about zealously guarding information from any form of unauthorized access, whether it's accidental or malicious. And what's truly fascinating here, and often overlooked, is that while we typically imagine these external, sophisticated hackers in dark rooms, the data consistently shows that breaches frequently originate from within an organization. We're talking about everything from, inadvertently careless employees clicking on phishing emails like they're auditioning for Dumb and Dumber 3, to genuinely disgruntled insiders. This human element, surprisingly, often presents the single biggest and most unpredictable challenge to maintaining confidentiality, even when you have the most robust technical controls meticulously in place. The deeper insight here is that trust itself can become a significant vulnerability when it comes to data access.
That's a powerful and, slightly unsettling insight. You spend fortunes building digital fortresses, complete with moats and drawbridges, only for someone to accidentally prop the main gate open with a digital brick. So how do we actually do this? What are the practical tools of the confidentiality trade? We're talking about robust digital locks, cryptographic keys, and, let's be honest, a healthy pinch of paranoia.
Precisely. And
Yeah.
when you talk about locks and keys in the digital realm, the absolute primary tool, the start of the show for confidentiality, is encryption. It's the ultimate digital padlock.
Encryption, the digital equivalent of a cryptographic word salad. It's like trying to send a deeply personal love letter, but written entirely in Klingon good luck to anyone trying to read it without the proper decoder ring. Encryption fundamentally transforms your plaintext data into an unreadable scrambled format, which can then only be deciphered back into its original form by the intended recipient holding the correct cryptographic key. Our sources talk about key encryption algorithms like AES, RSA, and TLS. To briefly explain AES, or Advanced Encryption Standard, that's typically used for symmetric encryption, meaning the same key encrypts and decrypts. It's incredibly fast, efficient for bulk data. RSA, named after its inventors Rivavest, Shamir, and Adelman, that's a public key system, used more for secure key exchange and digital signatures. It uses a pair of mathematically linked keys. And TLS, Transport Layer Security, that's the protocol that ensures secure communication channels between your browser and websites. That little padlock icon you see. That's TLS at work. These are the cool kids in the encryption clique, meticulously ensuring your data stays as private as a diary with a heart-shaped lock. And it's vital because it protects data in two critical states: at rest, meaning when it's just stored on a server, database, hard drive, and in transit, as it's actively being sent across a network or the internet.
Indeed. Without encryption, data moving across the internet is essentially like an open postcard, vulnerable to interception. However, even with the most sophisticated encryption, you still need precise controls over who can even attempt to access that encrypted data, which brings us very neatly to access control.
Access control is the digital bouncer, isn't it? It represents the intricate mechanisms that strictly restrict who can access what. It acts as the digital equivalent of a big, bold keep-out sign. And here's where it gets really interesting, because this is where many everyday users directly interact with security. We're talking about classic passwords, for instance. But let's be brutally honest. Our source points out that most people's passwords are about as secure as a screen door on a submarine. I mean, password 123, seriously. Or Hunter 2, really. The challenge isn't just having a password, it's making it strong, unique, and resisting the urge to reuse it everywhere. That whole password fatigue thing.
Knots thoughtfully represented by slight pause. Those common examples, they vividly illustrate a pervasive vulnerability. Beyond simple, often weak passwords, we also have biometrics that leverages unique physical characteristics like fingerprints, facial recognition, maybe even iris scans for authentication. While they're incredibly convenient, biometrics also raise questions about, revocability. You can change a password, but you can't really change your fingerprint. But perhaps the most significant and universally recommended step forward in access control for everyday users is multi-factor authentication, or MFA.
Yes. MFA is truly the adult supervision of the group, and it's something every single listener should be actively using everywhere it's offered, seriously. It fundamentally requires you to prove you are who you say you are by verifying at least two distinct factors, typically something you know, like your password, something you have, like your phone getting a code or a physical token, and sometimes something you are, like a fingerprint or face scan. It's that crucial layering of different types of controls that creates a dramatically stronger defense, makes it exponentially harder for some unauthorized party to breach your online accounts.
And finally, a vital point that is surprisingly often overlooked in our increasingly digital first world physical security.
Well, this one always makes me simultaneously chuckle and then immediately cringe with recognition. All the digital locks, biometric scanners, cryptographic fortresses in the world mean absolutely nothing if someone can simply walk into your data center and physically steal the hardware where your critical data resides. Our source recounts a chillingly true story where a company once had their servers stolen because they left the data center door propped open with a brick. A brick. That's not merely lack security. That's an open engraved invitation to star in Ocean's 11, the IT heist. It vividly demonstrates that information security isn't solely about software or network configurations. It's a truly holistic, interconnected approach. It covers every single layer of protection, from the digital right down to the very tangible.
That example perfectly underscores the point. Even the most sophisticated digital defenses can be completely rendered useless by a basic physical vulnerability. It's a stark reminder that the security chain is only as strong as its weakest link, whether that link is complex code or, well, a simple forgotten brick. Now let's pivot and consider the lighter yet often infuriating side. The confidentiality comedy show where it all goes wrong.
Oh, yes, these are the sitcom reruns of the InfoSec world, predictable, cringeworthy, and yet they keep happening with alarming regularity. Take the classic phishing scam. You get an urgent-looking email from your CEO asking you to immediately wire $50,000 to a Nigerian prince for a secret company investment. Oh. Employees, in a moment of haste or distraction, they fall for it because apparently critical thinking takes a coffee break when you're 3 emails deep and scrambling to meet a deadline. What's insidious about modern phishing is its sophistication. It's not just misspelled words anymore. Attackers meticulously craft emails that mimic legitimate communications, often using publicly available info to make them incredibly convincing. Then there's executive negligence. Our source talks about an executive who, after a long day, leaves their high-value, unencrypted laptop unlocked at a bustling conference. Lets some random dude in a hoodie download the entire customer database. Spoiler alert. That hoodie guy isn't just really into Linux. He's probably planning his next big score. This often leads to severe reputational damage and hefty regulatory fines.
This raises an important question about systemic vulnerabilities, doesn't it? As these anecdotes so vividly show, the weakest link isn't always a malicious external actor. It's often a person, or maybe a process that fails to account for human fallibility. Beyond external threats and accidental missteps, we also have the insidious realm of insider threats. And these aren't just about the stereotypical disgruntled employee. They can be far more nuanced.
Oh, the insider threats are pure gold for cautionary tales. Or pure poison for the company, depending on your viewpoint. It's not just the disgruntled employee who, on their last day, emails the company's trade secrets to their personal Gmail. It's also the well-meaning but utterly clueless intern who accidentally shares the entire HR database on a public Google Drive folder, maybe titled Totally Not Sensitive Data. Oops. Or it could be a senior developer cutting corners, pushing code with backdoors for easier debugging that then becomes a wide-open vulnerability. Confidentiality, as our source so aptly reminds us, is ultimately only as strong as its weakest link. And that link is often a person's, sometimes, yes, a Dave, who genuinely thinks cloud security just means storing files in a folder labeled Skynet and assuming the internet will magically protect it.
And that Dave's archetype, unfortunately, makes frequent appearances in these stories, often at the most inconvenient times. It really showcases how a lack of awareness or training can be just as damaging as, actual malicious intent.
Right. So how do we keep it confidential? How do we avoid becoming the next punchline in an InfoSec comedy show? We have some solid, actionable tips here. First, encrypt everything. Seriously. If your sensitive data isn't encrypted, it's basically a neon sign flashing "hack me," easy target. You absolutely need to employ strong, modern encryption for data both at rest and in transit. This means even if someone manages to steal your hard drive or intercept your network traffic, all they'll get is gibberish. And no, ROT13, that simple letter substitution thing, absolutely doesn't count as strong encryption. Not even close.
Secondly, and this is truly crucial for addressing that persistent human element, train your people extensively and continuously. Empower your employees. Transform them from potential vulnerabilities into your strongest line of defense.
Absolutely. It means teaching employees that an email instructing them to click here to claim your free iPhone 15 Pro Max is, without a doubt, not a legitimate business email, especially when it comes from some weird domain. The source even suggests engaging interactive role-playing for phishing scenarios. But maybe don't make it so realistic that HR or your legal team gets involved. It's fundamentally about building a pervasive culture of security awareness, where everyone feels empowered and responsible for protecting sensitive information.
Then there's the least privilege principle. This dictates that individuals and systems should be granted only the absolute minimum access rights necessary to perform their legitimate job functions. Your receptionist, for example, certainly doesn't need the nuclear codes to the customer database. This principle is vital because it significantly minimizes the potential blast radius and damage if a specific account gets compromised. It contains the breach.
And finally, you must audit like a paranoid conspiracy theorist. Regularly review and scrutinize who's accessing what data, when, and from where. If someone is consistently poking around in files or databases they really shouldn't be, it's definitely time for a friendly chat. Or, depending on the severity and intent, maybe a pink slip. These audit trails are your digital breadcrumbs, crucial for detecting, investigating, and responding to potential breaches. So what does this all mean for you, our listener, in your everyday digital existence? Well, it means actively applying these very professional principles to your own personal digital life. Use strong, unique passwords for every account. Enable MFA everywhere it's offered. Cultivate a healthy skepticism towards suspicious emails, links, requests. Confidentiality is the InfoSec equivalent of vigilantly keeping your most private diary out of your curious little brother's hands. But what happens if someone manages to sneak into your diary and then actively changes the entries, alters your personal history? That thought, my friends, leads us directly to integrity. So we've just spent a good amount of time discussing the paramount importance of keeping secrets with confidentiality. But what good are those secrets if the information inside them isn't accurate, if it's been tampered with, if you can't trust it? That, my friends, brings us square into the realm of integrity. Expert, how do we define integrity within this critical context of information security?
Integrity, at its core, is all about ensuring that your data stays consistently accurate, truly complete, and absolutely unaltered throughout its entire life cycle. It's about diligently protecting information from being tampered with, whether that tampering is from malicious hackers intentionally corrupting data or clumsy interns making accidental errors, or even, as the source amusingly notes, incredibly rare but possible cosmic rays flipping bits in your RAM. Fundamentally, it's about making sure your data is as trustworthy and steadfast as your grandma's unwavering promise to send you that $20 for your birthday.
I absolutely love that analogy. It's perfect. Without robust integrity, your data is about as reliable and believable as a weather forecast. In a particularly convoluted sci-fi movie, completely untrustworthy. Just imagine the sheer chaos. A bank's systems where someone maliciously changes your account balance from a healthy $1,000 to a paltry $10 just because they felt like it. Or a critical hospital system where your digital medical records suddenly and erroneously state you're severely allergic to chocolate syrup instead of life-saving penicillin. The consequences, as you can easily imagine, can range from financially devastating to, well, catastrophically life-threatening.
And if we connect this critical concept to the much broader picture of trust within all our digital systems, integrity emerges as the indispensable glue that prevents your data from morphing into a digital Pinocchio, constantly lying and misleading. It's not just about actively preventing malicious changes, but also diligently guarding against accidental corruptions, ensuring that the critical data you rely on for decisions, transactions, or even medical diagnoses hasn't been compromised in any way.
Absolutely. The stakes are incredibly high. So how do we effectively achieve this level of digital honesty and truthfulness?
Yeah.
What are the essential tools in the integrity trade? We're talking clever checksums, unique hash functions, and perhaps a healthy dash of digital OCD.
The first, and arguably one of the most crucial tools in maintaining data integrity, are hash functions.
Yes. These are truly unsung superstars of integrity. Cryptographic hash functions take any block of digital data, a file, a database, an email, and transform it into a unique, fixed-length string of characters. That's the hash value, or checksum. This hash acts much like a unique digital fingerprint for that data. Our source mentions examples like MD5 or SHA-256 hashes. Quick difference. MD5, while once common, is now largely considered cryptographically broken for integrity checks. Because of collision vulnerabilities, different inputs could theoretically produce the same hash. SHA-256, secure hash algorithm 256-bit, is the modern standard, much more collision-resistant, a robust fingerprint. The brilliance is, if someone so much as sneezes on your data, alters even a single bit, the resulting hash changes dramatically. Immediately, you know something's fundamentally wrong. It's like putting a tamper-evident seal on your yogurt, except instead of yogurt, it's your entire mission-critical customer data case. These functions allow for instantaneous, verifiable detection of any alteration, no matter how tiny. That's incredibly powerful for data assurance.
Building directly on that foundational concept of hash functions, we then have digital signatures. These powerful tools use public key cryptography to provide, essentially, a notarized guarantee for digital documents or messages. A digital signature verifies two critical things. First, that the file or message hasn't been altered since it was signed. That's integrity. And second, that it truly originates from a trusted, verifiable source. That's authenticity, which indirectly supports integrity. It's kind of like getting a physically notarized letter from your data itself, confidently stating, "I'm legit, bro, and I haven't been touched."
And then there's version control, which I like to think of as your data's meticulously kept diary. It's a sophisticated system that rigorously tracks and manages every single change made to data over time, creating a complete historical record. This is absolutely essential, particularly for collaborative work environments, because it means you can always reliably roll back to a previous uncorrupted version to the good old days before someone accidentally deleted half the database or introduced a critical bug. It's not just about recovery. It's a lifesaver for accountability, debugging, and maintaining a clear lineage of data modifications.
And of course, a truly indispensable tool for integrity that we simply cannot overstate the importance of: backups.
Backups, backups, backups. Nothing quite says, I truly value data integrity.
Yeah.
Like having multiple verified and secure spare copies of your data diligently stashed away in a safe location. But what's genuinely fascinating, and often tragically overlooked, is how frequently people confuse simply having a backup with actually having a usable and restorable backup. As our source humorously yet pointedly warns, a backup is not a USB drive in Dave's desk drawer next to his half-eaten burrito. It needs to be much, much more robust than that.
Precisely. A backup that is itself corrupted, maybe incomplete, outdated, or not regularly tested for restorability. It's as good as having no backup at all when it comes to preserving data integrity. For optimal integrity, we often recommend the 3-2-1 rule: at least 3 copies of your data, stored on at least 2 different media types, with at least 1 copy kept off-site. This drastically reduces the risk of all copies being compromised simultaneously. Now let's delve into the integrity comedy show where data goes to lie.
Oh, these are the true slapstick comedies of InfoSec, often with incredibly high stakes. Picture this. A malicious hacker manages to slip into your inventory system, subtly tweaks your database so it erroneously states you have 10,000 widgets in stock instead of the actual 10 you possess. Your warehouse team, relying on this falsified data, starts shipping out imaginary widgets, leading to massive fulfillment failures, countless customer complaints, and suddenly your company's unwittingly starring in the emperor's new supply chain. Or how about accidental code errors? A well-meaning but rushed developer trying to push a hotfix fixed a bug by inadvertently hard-coding a test value, say turning every customer's shipping address into 123 Fake Street directly into the live production database instead of configuring it correctly. This single, seemingly small oversight could suddenly corrupt tens of thousands of customer records, rendering future deliveries impossible, causing a logistical nightmare that costs millions to untangle.
Small errors, as you highlighted, can indeed have truly monumental and often hidden consequences. The source provides a fantastic and frankly terrifying example. True story. One company lost millions because a single comma in a CSV file got misplaced. A comma. Shakespeare didn't cause this much drama with a misplaced comma. This anecdote powerfully raises an important question about the incredibly subtle and often unseen ways data can be compromised both maliciously and accidentally. It underscores the constant, unrelenting need for vigilance at every single stage of data handling.
A single comma. That's just, wow, beyond wild to think about. And then there's the existential threat of ransomware, which I consider the InfoSec equivalent of a mustache-twirling villain tying your precious data to the train tracks, demanding a payment. Pay up, or your files get encrypted into utterly useless digital gibberish, essentially destroying their integrity.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Even if you do tragically decide to pay the ransom, there's absolutely no guarantee the bad guys will actually restore your data's integrity or even give you the decryption key. It's truly like trusting a shady used car salesman to give you a fair, honest deal on a decrepit 1997 Geo Metro, a gamble you almost always lose. The insidious nature of ransomware is precisely that it fundamentally undermines data integrity by rendering it completely inaccessible and therefore untrustworthy, even if the underlying bits haven't been directly altered in a way that modifies content. It holds your data hostage, forcing a compromise on its usability. So how do we keep it honest? How do we diligently ensure data integrity and avoid starring in our own digital integrity comedy show? First, hash it out. Regularly use checksums or cryptographic hashes to verify that your data hasn't been tampered with or accidentally altered. If the calculated hash doesn't match the original verified hash, it's a clear red flag. It's definitively time to call in the data detectives to investigate what went wrong.
Secondly, we need to apply access controls again. Just as with confidentiality, rigorously limiting who has the ability to edit or modify data is absolutely critical. If your enthusiastic but untrained intern has full right access to the live production database, you are, quite frankly, basically asking for a tragic sequel to the intern who broke everything, but with far more severe real-world consequences. This granular control reduces the surface area for both accidental and malicious corruption.
And crucially, implement robust audit trails. Meticulously log every single change made to your data, who made it, when they made it, and what exactly was changed. This ensures that if and when something inevitably goes wrong, you'll have a clear, incontrovertible record, allowing you to pinpoint exactly who to blame, or rather, who to train. Still looking at you, Dave. These logs are invaluable for forensic analysis and ensuring accountability.
Finally, and we simply cannot stress this enough, backups, backups, backups. Have multiple, geographically dispersed, and securely stored backups. And crucially, you must test them regularly, rigorously, and realistically. Because a backup you can't confidently restore is about as useful as a chocolate teapot looks nice, but utterly fails at its primary function when the heat is on. Regularly testing ensures the integrity of your backup process itself.
So, what does this all mean for you, our listener? It means valuing the absolute accuracy and trustworthiness of your own personal digital records, your financial statements, your medical history, your tax documents, even the authenticity of your personal photo archives. Integrity is about making sure your data doesn't lie to you or about you. But what good is perfectly honest, uncorrupted data if you simply can't get to it when you desperately need it? That thought, my friends, seamlessly brings us to our final but equally critical pillar: availability. Okay, we've thoroughly covered the critical need for keeping your secrets safe with confidentiality and ensuring your data is absolutely honest and untampered with through integrity. Now we arrive at what I consider the often unsung hero, or perhaps the perpetually stressed workhorse of the CIA Triad: availability. Expert, what exactly constitutes availability in the demanding context of information security?
Availability is the fundamental principle that ensures your critical data and essential systems are consistently accessible and operational precisely when you need them. It's about diligently keeping the lights on, digitally speaking, for all your services. Think of it as the digital equivalent of making sure your favorite coffee shop is reliably open and serving your much-needed latte exactly when you're craving it the most.
Right. Because, let's face it, without availability, your super secure, ultra-integrity protected data is about as useful as a beautifully crafted paperweight in a completely paperless office. This pillar is entirely about keeping your systems up and running, performing optimally, and being responsive. Even when hackers launch sophisticated attacks, power grids unexpectedly fail, or, in more absurd but real scenarios, rogue squirrels decide to chew through essential fiber optic cables. It truly represents the critical difference between a thriving, continuously operating business and a desolate digital ghost town.
What's truly fascinating, and often a painful lesson for many organizations, is how availability typically becomes a top-tier priority only after a catastrophic failure has already occurred. Yet, it is undeniably equally critical to the other two pillars. Without it, confidentiality and integrity lose much of their practical value. This means that your users, whether they're your crucial customers, your dedicated employees, or even just that one guy refreshing your site at 3 a.m., can consistently access your services without getting that dreaded 503 service unavailable error, or worse, a complete system outage.
So, how do we actively ensure this continuous, uninterrupted access to our digital resources? What are the essential tools in the availability trade? We're talking about robust redundancy, inherent resilience, and undoubtedly a whole lot of caffeine and quick thinking for the diligent IT team.
Precisely. The core concepts here are redundancy and resilience. This means meticulously planning for inevitable failures by architecting systems with multiple components, redundant systems, or alternative pathways for data flow.
Think beyond just a single server. We're talking multiple servers running in parallel, robust backup power supplies that automatically kick in, and sophisticated failover systems that can seamlessly switch operations faster than you can even say blue screen of death do so. These architectural choices are absolutely critical because they systematically prevent any single point of failure from crippling an entire operation. If one component unexpectedly goes down, another is immediately ready to flawlessly take its place, often without any noticeable interruption to the end user.
Building on that, we then utilize load balancers. These act as the digital traffic cops of your network infrastructure. Their primary role is to intelligently distribute incoming network traffic across multiple operational servers. This ensures that no single server becomes overwhelmingly burdened and decides to metaphorically take a nap under excessive load. Load balancing is vital for maintaining consistent performance, preventing slowdowns, and, most importantly, averting outages during periods of high user demand.
And for those big, terrifying existential scenarios, the ones that keep executives awake at night, there's disaster recovery. This is essentially the InfoSec equivalent of a meticulously crafted zombie apocalypse survival plan. It involves a comprehensive strategy encompassing regular, verified backups, secure offsite storage of data, and a robust, well-documented recovery strategy. A well-executed disaster recovery plan, DRP, allows you to bounce back from a major catastrophe, whether it's a natural disaster or a massive cyber attack, faster than a reality TV star after a major scandal. It defines your recovery time objective, RTO, how quickly you need to be back online, and your recovery point objective, RPO, how much data you can afford to lose.
To specifically counter a prevalent and damaging attack type, we implement DDoS protection. These are sophisticated countermeasures designed to defend against distributed denial of service attacks. These attacks aim to overwhelm your servers with such an enormous volume of malicious traffic that it's like trying to serve Thanksgiving dinner to a million uninvited guests simultaneously, effectively shutting down legitimate access. DDoS protection typically involves filtering out malicious traffic before it ever reaches your systems, often using cloud-based scrubbing centers.
And let's absolutely not forget the often underestimated yet critically vital task of patching. Regularly keeping your software and operating systems meticulously up to date is like getting your annual flu shot. It doesn't guarantee you won't ever get sick, but it dramatically strengthens your defenses and significantly reduces your chances of falling victim to known exploits that can lead to downtime. Unless, of course, you're still stubbornly running Windows XP without any vendor support, in which case your system is basically a digital petri dish. An open invitation for every bug and exploit out there. Here's where it gets really interesting. How critical basic, consistent maintenance like patching is for overall availability. Neglecting this crucial step leaves known vulnerabilities open, making systems prime targets for attacks that can easily take them offline, leading to embarrassing and costly downtime.
Indeed. It's often the seemingly simple, consistent maintenance steps that, when neglected, lead to the most significant availability issues. The effort put into preventative measures like patching far outweighs the cost and chaos of recovering from an outage. Now let's consider the availability comedy show. When systems go down and excuses go up.
Oh, these are truly the pratfalls and epic faceplants of the InfoSec world, often with incredibly high stakes and intensely embarrassing consequences. Picture this. A major online retailer's website completely crashing on Black Friday, their single busiest shopping day of the entire year, simply because someone forgot to adequately scale up the servers to handle the anticipated traffic surge. Customers are absolutely screaming online, X is ablaze with viral memes depicting the chaos, and the CEO is frantically on the phone yelling, "What do you mean if you tried turning it off and on again for our multi-million-dollar e-commerce platform?" Then there are the unbelievably mundane physical incidents. Our source provides some truly absurd examples. A hospital's critical systems went down for hours because someone literally tripped over a power cord, yanking it from the server rack. And the truly unbelievable one that makes you question humanity's priorities. One company's entire network crashed for an entire day because a janitor, needing an outlet, unplugged a mission-critical server to charge his industrial vacuum cleaner. Priorities, people, priorities.
Those examples vividly illustrate how even seemingly minor or absurd physical incidents can lead to widespread and utterly devastating system unavailability, impacting everything from healthcare to commerce. This raises an important question about the often underestimated financial and reputational costs of even brief downtime for any digital service. Even a few minutes can translate into millions of lost revenue and irreparable damage to customer trust. And then, of course, there are those targeted and relentless DDoS attacks, where malicious actors intentionally flood your servers with such an overwhelming torrent of traffic. It's like trying to serve Thanksgiving dinner to a million uninvited guests, all trying to barge through your front door simultaneously.
Your website wheezes, your digital services grind to a halt, your loyal customers rage quit in frustration, and your frantic IT team starts desperately Googling how to survive a DDoS attack without crying. Spoiler alert, there's really no app for that kind of emotional resilience. The sheer volume of incoming requests can paralyze legitimate traffic, making your service utterly unavailable.
The impact on customer trust, brand loyalty, and most directly, Revenue during such prolonged outages can be truly immense, taking months or even years to fully recover from, if recovery is even possible.
So how do we diligently keep it available? How do we proactively avoid the dreaded digital apocalypse scenarios? First, redundancy is your absolute best friend, BFF. Always have robust backup systems, redundant hardware, and failover mechanisms meticulously ready to go. If your primary server decides to unexpectedly die on you, your designated failover system better be primed and ready to step up like a seasoned backup quarterback entering a high-stakes championship game.
Secondly, monitor like a hawk. Implement comprehensive monitoring tools and systems that diligently watch your critical infrastructure 24/7. If something's about to go south, you absolutely want to know about it and intervene before your customers start tweeting about the outage, or worse, abandoning your service entirely. Proactive monitoring is key.
Then patch like your very life depends on it. Consistently keep all your software, operating systems, and applications meticulously updated to their latest versions to effectively avoid known exploits. If you're stubbornly still running unpatched software from, say, 2010, your entire system is effectively a welcome mat, explicitly inviting hackers to walk right in and cause chaos. Patching closes those digital windows and doors.
And finally, plan for disasters. You simply must have a comprehensive disaster recovery plan, DRP, that is far more detailed and actionable than just simply hoping for the best. Crucially, test it regularly, rigorously, and realistically, because a disaster recovery plan that you haven't thoroughly tested is, quite frankly, just a wish list, and about as useful as a chocolate teapot when a real crisis hits. Regular testing validates your strategy and ensures your team knows exactly what to do under pressure.
So what does this all mean for you, our discerning listener, in your own daily digital life? It means actively considering the availability of your own critical digital services, things like your online banking portals, your cloud storage where your important documents reside, or even reliability of your home network for remote work. Availability is ultimately about making absolutely sure your party never runs out of snacks, or, more accurately, your critical services are always there when you need them. We've meticulously seen each part of the triad individually, but now let's bring it all together. Let's see what happens when they all spectacularly collapse in a satirical but scarily plausible case study. Okay, let's really unpack this with a perfect, if somewhat painful, illustration of precisely what happens when the foundational CIA Triad is not just ignored, but actively scoffed at. Our source provides us with a brilliantly satirical but terrifyingly plausible tale of a fictional entity named Acme Corp. This company, bless their hearts, genuinely believed that cybersecurity was just something the IT guy vaguely handles on Tuesdays maybe, and as you might predict, it did not end well. This scenario sets up a classic cautionary tale that beautifully and disastrously brings all three elements, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, into sharp calamitous focus.
It's a masterful composite, really, of countless real-world vulnerabilities and the cascading consequences we see daily, condensed into one dramatic, albeit fictional, narrative. It's a stark reminder that these principles are not abstract. Their neglect has very tangible, often devastating outcomes.
Exactly. So, for Act 1 of our corporate tragedy, we have the confidentiality catastrophe. Acme Corp CEO, a perpetually busy individual named Bob, decreed that requiring employees to regularly change their passwords was simply too much hassle, an unnecessary drain on productivity. As a result, every single employee, from the mailroom to the executive suite, cheerfully used the same, easily guessable password. Acme Rocks 2025, branding, team spirit. The source tells us that one fateful Tuesday, an enthusiastic but entirely unwitting intern named Dave, of course it had to be Dave, clicked on a highly convincing phishing email promising him a free, all-expenses-paid luxury cruise to the Bahamas. Next thing anyone knew, Acme's entire unencrypted customer database, complete with sensitive personal info and payment card details, was being hawked on the dark web. CEO Bob was then last seen desperately trying to explain to a visibly irate board why their clients' credit card numbers were now inexplicably funding a shadowy hacker's lavish yacht party off the coast of Monaco.
hmm This scenario is a chillingly accurate illustration of the immediate and severe consequences of laughably weak access control and a complete systemic lack of employee cybersecurity training. It's a direct, devastating hit to confidentiality, leading to a resounding confidentiality. Zero hackers won. The profound insight here is that trust itself was the vulnerability. Employees were implicitly trusted with critical data, but lacked the training or robust technical safeguards to protect it, proving that the human factor, particularly negligence, can indeed be the weakest link, regardless of how simple the security measure seems.
And just when you thought things couldn't possibly get worse, we move swiftly to Act 2, the integrity implosion. Not learning a single lesson from the previous catastrophe, Acme, in a desperate attempt to cut costs, hired a new, inexperienced developer straight out of coding boot camp. This developer, in a rushed attempt to fix a minor bug in their e-commerce inventory system, bypassed proper change management protocols and manually edited values directly in the live production database. Suddenly, their e-commerce site was erroneously listing and selling 10,000 non-existent widgets, creating a tidal wave of phantom orders. Customers naturally were absolutely furious when their eagerly awaited packages arrived with nothing but an IOU and a rather insulting 10% off coupon for their next equally frustrating purchase. To compound this burgeoning disaster, Acme then suffered a crippling ransomware attack, which encrypted all their backups because, yes, David stored them on a single insecure server, ironically labeled totally not important, no need to worry. The company's financial records became gibberish, and their customer orders were a tangled mess of half-truths and digital lies.
This segment vividly highlights the catastrophic dangers of lax change management processes, insufficient access controls for direct data modification, and, perhaps most damningly, completely unsecured backups. It represents a total, unequivocal breakdown of integrity, leading to a definitive integrity, zero chaos one. The very ability to trust the accuracy and completeness of their data was obliterated, which, as we discussed, cripples every single aspect of business operations: inventory, customer relations, financial reporting, everything. The profound insight here is that the sheer volume of accidental corruption from human error or poorly managed systems can be just as, if not more, damaging than a sophisticated malicious attack, often quietly eroding trust until it's too late.
And finally, just as Acme Core was teetering on the brink, Act 3 commenced. The availability apocalypse. In a cruel twist of fate, just when Acme thought things couldn't possibly get any worse, their entire public-facing website catastrophically went down during their biggest flash sale of the year, an event they had heavily advertised. Turns out, their single, incredibly ancient server, running Windows Vista naturally because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, couldn't handle even a moderate surge in traffic, let alone the Black Friday-esque load. Their so-called DDoS protection was about as effective as a paper umbrella in a Category 5 hurricane. As a result, hundreds of thousands of potential customers, frustrated and enraged, abandoned their virtual shopping carts, flocking to competitors. X lit up with scathing complaints and hilarious but devastating memes depicting Acme's digital downfall. While CEO Bob was last seen frantically Googling how to explain extended downtime to furious shareholders without being fired immediately.
This powerfully demonstrates the critical, often undervalued importance of redundancy, proper infrastructure scaling, and robust defense mechanisms. This was a catastrophic failure of availability, unequivocally resulting in availability, 0, angry customers, 1. The profound insight here is that while we pour immense resources into securing data confidentiality and integrity, without constant, reliable access, even perfectly confidential and intact data is essentially worthless. It becomes a museum exhibit rather than a living, breathing, essential asset for your business. Acme Core's complete downfall wasn't merely a string of unfortunate events. It was a masterclass in systematically ignoring the intertwined principles of the CIA Triad. This fictional tale serves as a stark composite reminder that if Acme had simply encrypted their sensitive data, rigorously trained their employees, implemented strong access controls, and invested judiciously in robust redundancy and modern infrastructure, they could have easily avoided starring in Cybersecurity Nightmares, the movie.
And this isn't just a grim, exaggerated story, It's a composite of countless real-world vulnerabilities and their devastating consequences that you, as a listener, might encounter in the headlines almost every single day. The moral of the story is crystal clear. Acme Core's spectacular downfall wasn't just a string of spectacularly bad luck. It was a textbook example, a masterclass in the disastrous implications of deliberately ignoring the fundamental, interconnected principles of the CIA Triad. Hashtag outro. So after that whirlwind tour through the digital landscape of security and the cautionary tale of Acme Corp, what does all of this ultimately mean? We've covered a truly significant amount of ground today, from the sacred art of keeping secret cookie recipes to meticulously crafted digital zombie apocalypse survival plans. The core message, I hope, is now abundantly clear. The CIA Triad confidentiality, integrity, and availability is, without a doubt, the undisputed backbone of all effective information security. These three pillars are not isolated concepts. They're deeply interconnected, mutually reinforcing, and all equally vital for robust, comprehensive protection. You simply cannot achieve true security if even one of them is weak, compromised, or entirely missing.
Absolutely. It's a holistic framework, much like a three-legged stool. If you choose to focus intensely on only one aspect, say confidentiality, but then neglect the critical needs of integrity or availability, your entire system remains precariously vulnerable. All three must be meticulously addressed and diligently maintained for truly effective and resilient security. The striking takeaway here is that security is never a single product or solution, but a continuous state of vigilance across these three dimensions.
And here's a critical point to reiterate. While all the sophisticated tools, technologies, and best practices exist, the encryption algorithms, the granular access controls, the robust backups, the comprehensive monitoring systems, and much more, they are ultimately only as good and as effective as the people designing, implementing, and most importantly, using them. We've seen time and again in real-world scenarios and even in our Acme course story that the human element is invariably the real wild card, the most unpredictable factor in any security equation. Your individual actions, your daily choices, and your cultivated awareness play a profoundly critical role in ensuring both your personal and your professional digital security. These principles are not abstract academic concepts. They are eminently practical, actionable steps you can and should take every single day.
There's always more to learn in this ever-evolving field, and understanding the profound impact of the human factor helps you to continuously question assumptions, to apply critical thinking to everyday digital interactions, and build more resilient systems. And yes, sometimes that human element responsible for those unexpected security mishaps is, as our source so playfully but pointedly highlights, often metaphorically named Dave.
Slate chuckle. Poor Dave, forever enshrined in InfoSec lore. So let's end this deep dive with a final, truly provocative thought for you, our engaged listener. The next time you find yourself tempted to lazily skip that mandatory security training module, or perhaps cavalierly leave your laptop unlocked and unattended at your favorite bustling coffee shop, remember the profound, interconnected principles of the CIA Triad.
This raises an important introspective question. How proactive, how diligent, and how personally accountable are you truly willing to be to protect what matters most to you? Whether that encompasses your sensitive personal information, your company's invaluable data, or the digital assets you are professionally responsible for safeguarding.
So go forth, our digital empowered listeners. Keep your data rigorously confidential, your integrity absolutely intact, and your critical systems reliably available. Do this, and you might just avoid the unenviable fate of becoming the unwitting punchline in the next inevitable InfoSec horror story. Now seriously, go secure your systems and maybe, just maybe, change your password to something that doesn't scream, "Hack me." Unless, of course, you are, in fact, Dave.